Hello everyone, this is Grid14 and...
And this is Shadow Wolf. Welcome back. This is the random podcast of Awesomeness. Uh, we did something a little different for once. We actually played something a little more current.
Yes, and by current we mean came out a couple of months ago. This time we will be reviewing Bravely Default.
So, Bravely Default, it's for the 3DS. RPG made by one of our favorite developers, Square Enix.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, they make the Final Fantasy series.
Yes. Which doesn't show up at any point in this game. At all. Nope, not once.
Not really, no. Anyway, the namesake of the game is something important that you will be doing in the game. You have Brave in Default. But before we get to that, we can go to the story. So in the game, you start out as...
Tiz,
yes. And Tiz's village that he lived in was just destroyed by a huge giant chasm. And now it's up to Tiz to figure out what's going on. So, as Tiz is doing this, he runs into Agnes, who is the Wind Vestal, and it is her job to restore the crystals across the world.
yes.
To restore peace to the world, pretty much.
And as the Wind Vestal, she pretty much serves as a shrine maiden.
Right. I think that's about what I'm going to say for the story for now, anyway. Is there anything you wanted to add to that? I didn't want to give away too much right away.
Nah, that's fine for now. It gives us a basic cover of what of what the game is.
So as I said, this is an RPG. It's turn-based. You go around fighting different people, characters, whatever you want to call them. Like most RPGs, you have a class, and in this game, you will go around collecting different classes. For example, in the beginning of the game, you will have the Freelancer.
Yes. Who, if you max him out, becomes the most powerful class in the game, as always.
Yes. It's not a bad idea to try maxing them out right away anyway, but...
Well, actually, it's a pretty bad idea to do that because, God.
Well, there are reasons why you wouldn't want to.
Indeed.
But the one cool thing about the Freelancer is the more jobs you have sort of mastered, the better...
more powerful he becomes.
Right. So, what do you want to add to this, Gridette?
Mainly that the job system in this game is actually amazing. I really do like it.
It really is very nice. I like it a lot.
I find myself, you know, at the very least using each of the different jobs, even if I'm not all that good with them.
Yes, as you level up each job, you will gain abilities for the jobs. And while you have a job, you can also double with an ability from a different job. For example, you could be a red mage and have freelancer abilities.
Yes. And honestly, with how well the freelancer class works, I actually do recommend going with that particular combo, at least for a while.
It's not a bad combo, no.
Because the freelancer abilities make it very, very easy to maintain self heals almost at all times. So.
Right.
So yeah, freelancer is awesome. I don't really want to talk about each of the individual jobs because.
Right. No, I just figured I'd mention that one in particular right away.
Indeed.
So as you're playing through the game, you'll get 2 more party members.
Well, 3 actually.
Well, 3.
Because we haven't actually mentioned. Well, we mentioned Agnes, but we didn't say that she become a party member yet. Yes, Agnes becomes your first party member.
Yes, you'll find Anya's running away from a group of Eternian
Warships.
airships, yeah. After escaping from them, you will go into the main town at the time. Trying to think of Caldislia, I think it's
Yes,
called.
Caldisla.
And from there, you'll learn what's sort of going on.
Yes, pretty much. With the incredibly awesome intro that happens right off the bat, you learn that the world that Tiz was growing up with has suddenly become accosted with with a bunch of turmoil. And not only is there a bunch of turmoil going on, there seems to be a lot of different things pulling the strings.
A lot of things pulling the strings.
Yes. So, so as Tiz is, frolicking around in the fields of his home world, of his hometown, it gets destroyed by the great hole that just appears out of nowhere.
Yes.
And Tiz losing all of his friends, in particular, all of his friends and family, in particular his brother. He really doesn't like that he lost his brother.
I don't blame him, but
Indeed, I don't blame him either. He makes it his goal to actually rebuild his town of Norende. And that's where we pick up pretty much. After the cataclysm, Tiz finds Agnes, they go to Caldisla, and the story picks up from there.
now, as Gerda was saying about rebuilding his town, that's actually something you will be doing in the game as sort of like a side mission.
Yes,
And it's something that you want to do because while you're doing it, you will receive items from rebuilding the town.
indeed. And this is where the Wi-Fi elements actually come in. You see,
Yes.
being a 3DS game, you have the ability to communicate with other players across the world, and you can use this to your advantage by having them help you rebuild Norende.
And please do use this feature.
Yes, it makes the game much more simple. Oh, Killer Bo, you are so awesome.
There's actually a few different things you can do by having the connectivity besides just building, but we'll get to that after.
Yes. Hey, it's Ellen.
So like I was saying before, this game is called Bravely Default, mainly because in the battle system you have two features that are very unique to this game called Brave and Default.
Yes. Whereas Brave allows you to spend additional action points during the turn in order to get off additional attacks or help out your party in some manner. Basically have additional actions. Whereas Default ups your defense and actually saves an additional action point for the next turn.
Yes. This is sort of not as important towards the beginning of the game, but towards later in the game you'll be wanting to use this quite a bit.
After Chapter 2, also this game uses a chapter system. This becomes very important.
Yes. Let's see here. So as we were talking about, this is a RPG, so it's a turn-based RPG for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure how they decide who goes first. That's the one
that
thing.
is actually determined by your agility, or is it agility or is it dexterity? It's one of the
I think it is agility, but then there are times where I'm like, I don't understand why that happened the way it did. I think it has to do something besides just agility, but
there's probably also a couple dice rolls that go into it.
I feel like I'm doing a lot of the talking. Is there anything you want to talk about the battle system?
The battle system in this game is actually very, very well done.
It is.
Each of your characters obviously have a single turn, as it's a turn-based RPG, but the addition of Brave and Default makes it so that makes it so that you can actually strategically plan out your next couple of turns or your next actions far better than other games would usually have you do. With that being said, there are a couple of significant changes that I would particularly I would make to the system, but not necessarily to the way that Brave and Default actually work. I find that Brave and Default work very well.
I do too. The other cool thing I actually really like in this game is how the specials work.
Yes, special attacks in order to gain them are based on what weapons you're using, and depending on what weapon you're using, you have to do a specific action a number of times in order to unlock and be able to do the special attack. And each of these special attacks actually have different functions as well. Every weapon has 3 different special attacks that you can do.
Yes. And with each of your specials, you can also edit them
To have different abilities.
Right.
You unlock these different special attacks and different abilities from building the Rende. So yes, building the Rende actually does impact the game significantly.
Yeah, that's something you do not want to skip if you can. That's pretty much the battle system, how that works. So, after going and learning about the major plot of the game, you will be faced with a new party member.
Yes, and his name is Ring a Bell, a pun on the fact that he has no memory.
Does it ring a bell? Yes, he has lost his memory, and despite that nobody knows who he is, our friends find a way to be able to trust him to be able to join the group.
Yes.
He also has something of importance that helps the group. He holds a journal of which he has no idea how he got it, but it has all these facts of all the upcoming events.
Yes. Well, not all the upcoming events,
Well,
but a
not
good
all
portion
of
of
them,
them.
Yes. It's one of those fuzzy sort of things.
And you will you will end up. Though, as the player, you can actually look into the journal whenever you want in order to see what all is actually happening. It is most awesome.
It is very cool. There's a lot of cool features that the journal has. Most notably, it is a sort of encyclopedia, and you can look through there for all sorts of information.
Yep.
Now, coming up towards the final party member, this is towards where you learn more about the major plot of the game. Your last party member is actually part of the other side.
Yes, Idea. And by the way, Idea is awesome.
Yes, she is. She's pretty badass.
Honestly, I think Idea is my favorite character, mostly because the story really does focus on her.
It sort of does, yeah. Not that you notice it right away, but it does. But yes, you learn that she is turning away from her father and his ruling to go with the Wind Vestal, Anya's. and restore the crystals. Uh, so you have to go to each of the temples after finding out that each of them is now abandoned and dilapidated to...
All through different extremes as well.
Right.
For example, the wind shrine after the wind crystal exploded was just deserted for a couple of days, and monsters have taken over. Can I just take a moment to say how much this game reminds me of Final Fantasy V?
Sure, go ahead.
I love Final Fantasy V. It is by far and away easily my second favorite JRPG. And this game kept throwing Final Fantasy V at me, to the point where I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is most certainly a callback to Final Fantasy V.
It was very well done, the game. Granted, there are a few gripes I have about it, but they're nothing too major.
Indeed.
What do you think we should talk about next?
Well, what did you think about the soundtrack?
I actually really enjoyed it, even though it repeated most of the time.
True.
I like the fact that each special move had its own soundtrack.
Well, not really, actually. The special move soundtrack is actually its own thing, and
Right.
then each special move adds on to that. That's how that works.
Right, that's what I was getting at, but still very cool.
Yes.
The soundtrack and even the voice acting in this game I thought was done very well.
Yes, the voice acting is actually done very well, as is the soundtrack. There aren't really all that many complaints that I have towards the game. In all seriousness, I do have a couple, but nothing that's that really detriments that really hurts the game.
There is a tutorial thing that you have in the game.
Yes, and I still haven't actually done all of the tutorial missions, strangely enough.
They're all pretty easy to do, but by doing each one you get an item. One of the things it teaches you that I really... This was just a thing that I thought was kind of silly after they taught me this, is that you can play the game pretty much one-handed with the D-pad.
Yes, you can.
All except for when you're building your rende.
Really? Yeah.
Then you need the stylus.
Well, yeah, you do need the stylus then.
That's pretty much the only time you really need the stylus. Otherwise, you can actually play the game pretty much with the analog stick and the D-pad.
Yes. And honestly, I like playing the game with the analog stick and D-pad. The analog stick gives very free movement, and all in all, it feels right to be playing this game on the analog stick.
It does.
Let's see. Send you guys down there.
The controls are very fluid, actually.
Yes, the controls are most certainly very fluid. I need to stop playing this. I really do. Because I am way too distracted. Let's see.
while it may not seem like it, this game does actually encourage you to do exploration.
Yes, there is actually a lot of exploration to be had in this game, although you're not really rewarded for it so much. I mean, there is the obvious hidden items from time to time, but they're but other than the hidden items, I don't really see all that much need to go exploring. There is, of course, the one side quest, the Susano side quest, but
Yeah.
that's like the only real time where exploring is really a thing that you should be doing.
And the other small thing is that there's locked chests throughout the game,
Yes, which are annoying.
which hold like some of the best items in the game. So if you want to unlock those chests, you actually have to wait until quite later in the game in order to get that ability to do.
Yes. It is actually a very sad thing, because I was like, oh, there's these blue chests here. How do I open them? Do I have to use the thief class? Do I have to use the time mage class? Do I have to use... What do I have to use to open these? And then I'm like, I can't open these, and I really want to. And I leave it alone.
Yeah, I was pretty annoyed with it too at first.
I leave it alone for long enough, and I come back, and later, you just find the key to them on your ship, and it's like, what? Really?
That was
Really?
here this whole time?
Well, not the whole time, obviously, but
Oh, I know, but yeah.
it feels like it was there the whole time. Actually,
I actually do like the characters that they made in this game. I thought that each of the bosses was very unique in their own way. In defeating most of the main bosses, you will actually get your other classes.
yes. However, to get all the classes in the game, you will need to go around and do all of the side quests.
Right.
It is something that bothers me quite a bit, because several of the side quests are not actually pointed out on the map, like the one for pirate.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's a real detriment to the game. It's something that you really wish that they had thought of, but it doesn't really hurt the game all that much. So,
Even though Pirate's pretty awesome.
a pirate is amazing.
I mean, obviously you're going to find out as you play through the game that a lot of the newer classes you're going to want instead of like the older ones. They're not
Yeah.
going to matter as much. Especially with the fact that you can use the other classes as your abilities if you needed them.
Yeah. And the dual class thing that goes on, I'm actually very happy with, specifically because with the dual class thing comes an amount of customization that we don't really see all that often in our RPGs. Like, you can have one character that's dedicated to healing, one character that's dedicated to damage, and aside from the Final Fantasy universe, we usually don't happen to have all that much of that going on.
Right. No, I feel like this game is actually very customizable compared to a lot of other RPGs I've played.
Yeah. We seem to be running out of topics.
Now, I could go. I want to keep going on about the storyline, but I feel like I'd be giving too much away. I don't want to spoil the game for everyone.
True.
There's just so much going on, and I feel like you should all experience it for yourself to really figure out what's going on. The one thing you will notice, though, is that you might feel like you're doing the same thing all over again at some point.
Well, because you are. That is
You are.
That is a plot point.
which for me I got a little bit dry.
Yes, I do have to say that the problems that the game has do stem from the fact that it is very, very repetitive in the later parts of the game.
Because you are going to be repeating a few things. And a lot of the dialogue is also the same.
Yeah.
So you're going to be repeating the dialogue all over again, which is a little tedious. Granted, you are allowed to skip most of the dialogues that you go through. There are a few that you can't, but they're usually short ones. Granted, I really do like the storyline in general.
Yes, the story in this game is actually very well told, with the exception of Chapter 3. I do not like Chapter 3 story. I don't. I do have significant problems with that. You see, the whole problem that I have with Chapter 3 is the characterization that Agnes goes through just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, yeah, Agnes is supposed to be incredibly dedicated to restoring the crystals and making sure that that the world is saved and stuff. But don't be a dick about it. There's no reason for her to be such a dick in Chapter 3. And she just turns into a flat-out bitch in Chapter 3. And it's just, no. I like you as a character, but I don't like you enough to forgive you being a bitch.
The NPCs in this game are actually a lot of fun because they do have a lot of development as you play through the game.
Indeed, they do. However, you may find yourself stereotyping a lot of the characters on your own, specifically because a lot of them are, in fact, pretty heavy stereotypes. It's not something that really hurts the game. It really isn't, but it's something that you'll definitely notice.
Especially because this game actually has a lot of humor in it, and it's just pretty obvious the way they do it. But you can tell it's supposed to be funny. Usually after an event happens, there's a party chat.
Yep.
And it's not always necessarily something crucial to the story that they'll tell in the party chat, but it's usually something that can either give you a little help or it's just something to be kind of funny.
Yes. Honestly, the party chat system is well done as well. It's not something that you'll really care for the first time you're playing through the game, but it does actually build these characters very nicely.
I think it's cool because it is like they're trying to give the characters a lot of depth.
And the characters do have a lot of depth in them. Not nearly as much as you might want, but enough to enough to actually care about what happens to them.
Like you can tell that Ring a Bell especially is like a big pervert.
Yes. But that isn't really a problem for him. It's just something that he is.
Right, it's just something that they poke at all the time. As well as, I think it's Chapter 3, you run into the Sage.
Actually, no. You run into the Sage at Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. I know it was 2 or 3. And you find out there's actually a quest that you have to go to do for the Sage. You have to get thread to fix your garment in order to do the crystal.
Yep.
And you find out that he is a lot like Ring a Bell in being a pervy old man.
Yes.
But later in the game, you find out how important he actually is.
Yes. I'm saying yes a lot for some reason.
So yeah, there's a lot of character development, not in just your party, but the NPCs. Also in this game, uh, when you start out, you're going to be doing mostly walking, but as time goes on, you're going to have a flying airship.
Yes. Although, to be honest, the flying airship, although it definitely opens up the entirety of the map, is not that important.
No, it's not, but it's just nice to not have to walk everywhere.
Indeed.
Onto the visuals of the game.
Visually, the game actually looks pretty nice. I won't say it's the best looking 3DS title, but it doesn't really need to be the best looking 3DS title.
No, it doesn't have to be. The only times I really used the 3D is actually during like the cutscenes.
I didn't use the 3D at all. I didn't. Although, I had this impression that 3D would have been actually pretty good during the cutscenes. How did you find the 3D?
I actually liked it. I thought for what it was that they did a good job with it.
Okay.
Without the, I think without the 3D, it's still just as good though.
Right.
That and even though when it's not like the cutscenes, the graphics are still good enough.
Yes, they are. Again, graphically, this game is actually very nice. I won't. Like I already said, I won't say that this is the best looking 3DS title, but I don't know what the best looking 3DS title is. So.
Actually, the one thing I have to kind of give to them is each class has a different look, so each of your characters actually will look different in each class.
Yes, they will.
And they'll actually even show you dressed as that during the cutscenes even.
Yeah, which is why later on you can unlock alternate outfits.
Yes, you can. The only gripe I have about that though is you need AR cards for that.
I didn't need AR cards for the alternate outfits that I got.
Okay, I didn't quite get that far, but there is an AR card section in the game when you start it. I don't quite know what all of them do, but I'm assuming most of them probably give you alternative costumes.
Yeah. For example, there's the very specific one for the Japanese release that fixes the look of the Rangers, because everyone complained wholeheartedly about how awful the Rangers looked. I don't have a problem with how the Rangers look, honestly.
I actually found them all right. If you actually want to mention something like that, they actually did change quite a few of the outfits for the Western release.
Yes, I do know about the censorship debacle that happened. I don't really know what they looked like beforehand, so I'm not entirely sure if it was needed or not.
I actually did see them. They weren't really that bad, to be honest. They could have been a lot more provocative.
Yes, they could have.
But yeah, visually it's very appealing. Do you want to go over some of your gripes, Gerda?
Kind of. You see, I happen to have this one particular gripe where after a certain plot event happens, and you start going through what is the rest of the game. The optional bosses no longer seem to be worth it. They just seem to be they seem to be there just so that you have something to do, but I can't really say that that's a good thing. I honestly feel as though that isn't really what the optional bosses should have either been thought out more, or maybe just maybe just served a greater purpose. I mean, getting one of the Agnes alternate costumes from one of the optional bosses was cool and all, but it wasn't really something that helped that added to the gameplay for me.
I can understand that.
Although I will say that learning more about the world through the alternate bosses is an amazing thing, but post chapter 5, the optional bosses just get pretty ridiculous in what they expect you to do. So I found myself skipping them for chapter 6 and 7, which was sad because I really shouldn't have done that.
And in this game, you can actually really easily get to level 99 even if you're doing all the
especially once
stuff.
you get into the after game. Oh God, the after game. Let me put it this way: the Earth Temple is by leagues and bounds the easiest place to gain both JP and experience in the entirety of the game. It's so ridiculously simple, in fact, that it's almost insulting how easy it is. Do you want to go over any tips and tricks?
One tip I would mention is I wouldn't start this game on hard. I played it on normal, and that was hard enough for me. If you're really crazy, I guess you can go for that. But I know Gerdat started on easy.
Yes, I did.
Did you find that too easy for you, or?
I actually found that on easy mode the difficulty was just about right. Like I still had to manipulate my jobs successfully in order to get through a bunch of the more difficult encounters. For example, I hated the fight with Kata the first time because while I was going through the game, the only job I was actually using was Freelancer because I had this mentality where if I max out my Freelancer, then I can move on to the other jobs, and the stat bonuses that I get from Freelancer will just help me get those other jobs up. And it proved to be the case. It did, except I have still not actually mastered Freelancer with anyone. When I ended up at the fight with Kata, I desperately needed a white mage. That might be something that takes a couple players out of the experience a bit. The fact that you will need certain job classes for certain things. But honestly, it doesn't feel all that bad in my opinion. It's just something that I should have prepared a bit better for, and I acknowledge that.
I have to say, like when I like I said, I was doing this on normal mode. When I got to jog more, that was just ridiculous what I had to put up with in order to kill that thing.
Everyone seems to have a huge problem with Chaknon. I'm like, he's not that difficult, guys. When he's got the purple protection shield on him, he doesn't take damage, so don't attack him. And after 3 turns, he explodes at you. So during the turn that he explodes at you, default.
I mean, like, it took a little figuring out to figure out what I was supposed to do.
Mind you, at that time, I had already gotten my pirate. Class. So once he exploded at me, I was just able to take him down with physical attacks pretty easily.
Okay. No, I was actually at that time.
Yeah, you missed the pirate class at that point.
I did. I took him down with Black Mage, and that took just forever.
Well, yeah, because at that point, the highest thunder spell that you have, which is his weakness, is Thundara, right?
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, you would probably have been better off with a Spell Fencer then. Except I'm not sure if you had it by then, did you?
No, I didn't.
Wow. You missed out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I ended up going through this game the hard way, not doing everything in the order I was supposed to, which sort of hurt me, but I was able to eventually get back. If you find yourself stuck, you might want to check around because the boat can get you places that you need to be.
Yes, the boat can get you almost anywhere that you need to go. I don't think it can actually get you back up to... Well, actually it can because of the forest path.
Right.
I think the only place where the boat can't actually get you is into Chapter 4, which is why you need the airship, but that's about it.
Like I was saying before, like, it was only a small gripe, is I was able to play this game mostly with the D-pad, which they encouraged. But once I tried to go into Narende, I was kind of forced into using my stylus.
I don't really have a problem with that though.
Uh, well, the only reason like I didn't like it was I'd be like I'd get an item and the only way I could close out of the item was by clicking OK. I couldn't press like B or A to say OK and go back.
Okay, I get that. Yeah.
I kind of wish they just made that so I could press B and go back, but it was just a small thing. The other thing I was talking about was this game does get repetitive, especially when you have to do certain things multiple times. I kind of like the fact that for the bosses I have to fight over again, that they did make them more powerful.
As do I. I think that upping the bosses actually, help upping the power of the bosses was most certainly a good thing. But it makes the fights longer, and I'm not entirely sure if more satisfying or not.
Right. Which is just another little small thing. I mean, the battle system for the most part works pretty well, except sometimes the bosses take a little longer than I want them to.
Right.
But one of the cool things I actually really liked about this game is you have auto.
Yes, auto is a godsend, especially at times 4 speed. The ability to in combat change the speed of how fast turns go. That in and of itself is an amazing feature, and I really wish more RPGs did that.
It's like the best thing you have for grinding.
It is like an RPG grinder's godsend forever.
That and you actually have a speed option during battle.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually get through grinding really fast.
Let's see, where is she?
Granted, it will slow down for special moves so that you can see them.
Yes, even though the special moves aren't really all that special. Even though the special moves aren't really all that flashy, I find that they're actually entertaining enough to let that slide for the most part.
And the other thing I actually really liked is, while I'm thinking about those certain things, is you can actually change your encounter rate in the game.
Which, again, is another godsend. The ability to have Diabolos from the get-go is fucking awesome. For those of you that don't know what Diabolos is the gravity-based Guardian Force from Final Fantasy VIII. And I bring him up because he's one of the few he's one of the few items and abilities in game that allow you to manually edit what your encounter rate is. It is awesome.
Yes.
More games should have the ability to up and to both increase and decrease your encounter rate. That is awesome.
The only time I really ever... You can actually make it so that you don't encounter anything.
Yes.
I would sometimes do this if I was like going through a place I already went through, and I just wanted to get through it faster. Or if I was close to dead, I could just go back into town and heal.
Right.
Otherwise, the fact that you can put this at plus 100% with auto and speed at 4, you can just do grinding super easy.
Yes, grinding in this game is a non-issue. Anyone who complains about grinding in this game didn't play the game long enough to actually know what grinding is. Grinding in this game is super simple, and it's actually one of the more fun aspects of the game. Oh my god, grinding regarded as fun. How dare you? Well, certain games actually do it right. This is one of them.
This is mainly just something I kind of wish they did, but in the journal, you can actually view each of the characters.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, whenever I got something new, I would always go into Ring a Bell's journal and look at its new entry.
Yeah, and I would too.
You really don't need to do that, but it's not only nice that it's there, it's really cool that you can.
The only thing I kind of wish they added to it was like sort of statistical things. I mean,
Yeah, the bestiary in Ring a Bell's journal is really, really lacking.
I mean, it's cool that it's there. I just kind of wish that they included that.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the journal, I actually like the fact that you can go back and view past events in the journal.
Yes, the event viewer in the journal is a very nice feature as well. It's not something that I would really harp on, but it is something that's really cool. So.
We're getting pretty close to an hour. Is there anything else you want to...
Really? Oh, okay. I really like this game. I do. I wish I wasn't so distracted by the game that I'm currently playing instead. Jeez. Okay, this is definitely gonna be the last time that I play a game while doing this. That sucks. Anyway, I love this game. I do. But I find myself that I'm not going back to it at all. I find myself that I would like to go back to it. I really would, but I don't think that I have any reason to go back to it. As cool as the game is, it's not something that even the New Game Plus mode, I don't really care, because the New Game Plus mode is so customizable that all I really did was got rid of my enemy data. And that's a sad thing, simply because, that's a limitation that's one of the very few limitations that I'm willing to get rid of. I'm willing to lose my enemy data because I'm just going to get it again. So, yeah.
Right. I mean, there are a lot of cool things in the game. I'm not sure if I'll want to play it after I beat it. I didn't quite beat it yet, but I'm pretty close.
Mind if I give you a piece of advice then?
Sure.
Max out Ranger. Do it. Do it now!
So like Gerdat saying, Ranger's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. Understatement of the fucking year.
It is like beast mode.
Yes. Ranger is almost flat out broken, okay? There's no real denying it. People think that the Ranger outfit looks ridiculous. I'm willing to put up with the ridiculousness. One, because I don't think it's all that ridiculous, and two, it kills things. It kills things very, very nicely.
Granted, there are a lot of other cool classes as well.
Yes. As always, the ninja is almost a mandatory class. If you play the game, you must build ninja.
One of the other ones I would mention, but it's more of a spoiler, you'll have to play the game for that one.
Oh, are you going to mention the C? I honestly don't like the C. I haven't used it at all, but I don't like him.
It has to do with blood-sucking.
Oh. Yeah, I haven't used him either, although you could, use his Final Fantasy form, the Blue Mage.
Yes.
The main problem that I have with the Blue Mage in this game is that is the same problem that you have with all the damn Blue Mages. Getting the damn abilities.
But yeah, this game is a lot of fun. I don't know if I would want to replay it, but it's a great game nonetheless.
Yeah. This is definitely a game that I will want to go back to. I will. I just don't want to go back to it right now.
Right. This is a game you'll probably, a few years from now, you'll be like,
you know what? Let's
really
go replay this, like from start to finish, and then I'll be like, all right, I can just do New Game Plus mode, and then I don't want to play it again because I've already gotten everything that I care about.
It might not be a game that you want to 100%.
Most certainly not. There isn't really that big of a reason to 100% it, unless you're that convinced that the world is worth exploring, and most certainly that the world is most definitely worth exploring, but I don't think it's worth exploring to its maximum.
But yeah, I pretty much would just say play it for its story, because the story is pretty awesome. Any other final thoughts?
I guess I may as well just try and do a scoring. I do like this game. I do. I find that the optional bosses towards the latter third of the game are just way too just require a bit too much of the player, a bit too much of the mastery of the mechanics in order to be all that fun. I like the soundtrack to the game, although I don't really remember any significant pieces from it. I love the job system. It's this particular job system style is what really makes Final Fantasy V my second favorite RPG of all time. Will this supplant it? I'm not sure. I still haven't beat Final Fantasy V. I beat this game, so that's actually a downside in my opinion. I know that's stupid, but Yeah, that's a serious downside for me. I can beat this game. I can't beat Final Fantasy V. Ugh. So I'm gonna give this game a 9 out of 10. It is fucking awesome and definitely worth the $50 price tag on it. Or was it 40 when I bought it? I don't remember. I think it was
I'm
50.
pretty sure when I bought it was 40.
Okay.
I'm going to pretty much agree with Gerdat. Despite the fact that there are a few tedious repeating things in the game, which I found to be a little dry at times, this is worth the money. It's an excellent game. Uh, if you look at other reviews for this game, like IGN and everything, they're giving this game top scores.
And while I won't say that this game is perfect, even though I really do love it, I will say that it's not only worth your money, it's technically worth buying twice. Mainly so so that you and a friend can, attempt to race through it. I would say that going into the pseudo multiplayer in this would actually be pretty fun too.
And if you have the option to play the demo mode before you actually play the game, you can actually get some extra stuff. So I might advise that you try that if you can. Otherwise,
There was extra stuff for playing the demo first.
yes,
I missed out on extra content. Doh!
it wasn't really big stuff. It was pretty much just like you get 20 Phoenix Downs and stuff like that. But
Oh, yeah, Phoenix Downs, which are ridiculously expensive early game and then cheap as hell late.
but yeah, if you can do that, you do get extra stuff by playing the demo. It's a great game. I'm gonna give this game a 9 out of 10, just like Gerdat did.
Yay! We agree on a score! When was the last time that happened? I don't remember.
It has been a while. With that, thank you guys for listening.
I am so sorry for being so distracted by my other game. Oy. But I like Master of Magic. It's fun. But yes, thank you guys for listening. This has been Gerdat14
Shadow Wolf.
and we are the Random Podcast of Awesomeness.
So until next time, guys, be safe.
Yes, be safe.